I'm a CEO of an organization, how I am connecting to the purpose of my organization and how am I connecting that purpose along with the values to what I do in my line of work, in my line of responsibility.
Someday the person may not be feeling well for whatever reason. We don't know what the person is going through in their own mind, right? If on that particular day, when it is needed, the person has the back of someone at work. Namaskar and greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Wellness at Work podcast. Such a pleasure. I'm indeed honored to be here. My name is Sanjeeb Lahiri. I lead HR for GRP Limited, coach by passion, and a crusader against loneliness and burnout. I am indeed honored to have a dear friend, Fiby Francis, with me here today. And together, we are going to unearth some mysteries here about ourselves, about our journeys, and also about the topic. Fiby, welcome.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you for the kind introduction. Good to be here. Good to know you, and thanks for the Wellness at Work India for giving us this opportunity. So to discuss, how we can align human-centered strategy, especially developing learning cultures and also sustainable leadership. So good to be here. Myself, Fiby. I'm Indian, working right now in Dubai as an entrepreneur. Focused on people and organization development. So I'm a banker who moved to people and organization development, understanding the fascinating world of applied behavioral science, and cherish each moment of the same.
Awesome. Fiby, now I must ask you this question because it's coming so compelling. A banker to people development to behavioral sciences, right? A trainer, an academician, and now an entrepreneur. How did you navigate this journey?
I have to go a little bit backward. So, I'm from Kerala, central Kerala, a place called Trichur. You might have heard about Guruvayur Temple. So it is, I'm closer to that place. And, at that time it was pre-degree, and quite often when people explore about career, it was considered as engineering or medicine as a field. So after 10th, I chose the physics chemistry stream, and unfortunately, I couldn't achieve the 50% score. My average score came to 49. I was a bit low on chemistry and maths. So, so as a youngster, I was in a challenging position, but I have to thank my parents, my teachers since then, who guided me and provided me motivation to explore different things. And that is one. So, for example, when you are 49 percentage, it becomes difficult to get into a regular college. And finally, after the first chance, second chance, third chance, you get some slots vacant. You get an opportunity to join for bachelor's in economics at that St. Thomas College, Trichur. And I met the head of the department, who always shared stories of inspiration. And one instance, he said, your life is not determined based on what your 10th or 12th grade mark is. It is based on the way in which you experiment and live your life. So that was courage, as well as an aspiration, and also support from parents also to pursue. For example, this is what my father said: if you want to learn, I'm happy to support you in any way we can. And that inspired me to explore, the bachelor's in economics, which I was able to get first class, then move into master's in the economics in the same college. And that is where you asked how I moved to the training. That was the head of department said after my master's final exams, why don't you teach the first year students of MA economics? And it was development issues of Indian economy, which I was given to as an opportunity to teach. And that was, I really loved that process. And probably then I got an opportunity to work later on in a bank. But again, that passion to help with information, maybe sometimes the teachers, their influence of how they translated information to me might have helped me also to translate information to the people I train or teach. So I started seeing value by those people, in that process. So that maybe as in some sort of navigating from from a banker over a period of time. I also identifying, when I came across to Middle East to work in Emirates Institute for Banking and Financial Studies, I discovered the world of learning and development, and also started to align with HR and OD teams. In the past, it was mostly treasury, business products, etc. So that was the shift. And applied behavioral science, I understood that it is not the process policies, but the people which brings the transformation. And whether it is work, whether it is our workplace, whether it is our organizational workforce, people drives everything. So that is in somehow I shifted from that. So that brings me curiosity, Sanjeev, to know your journey. For example, you have been with the BSNL, which was the old name, then Tata Communications. Then I noticed you, for example, you moved out of the country to work in different jurisdictions for Tata Group, and now coming back to India, heading the CHRO as a CHRO. So what was your journey? How was it shaped? If I and what are some of the mentors or people who guided you in that process?
Man, yeah, it's like a flashbacks, maybe, because as he was saying, I was really, maybe rewinding some of those steps that I had to take, and it is my journey post teens for that matter. Grade 12 boards, pre-university PU are kind of very similar. I had a focus. I wanted to be a doctor and in the army. Uh, the only exam that I really, really focused for was the Armed Forces Medical College entrance exam. Yep. Um, so as life would have it, my board results came and I was short of 2 marks in PCD, which means FMC gone for life. Yeah. But the best part is I've been really, really loved by a lot of people. As a child, because grew up in a place called Durgapur, and it is very similar. Durgapur was an industrial area. It was one of the most industrialized uh, places, regions of the country while we were growing up. Right? So there are plenty of industries. Two steel factories of the Steel Authority of India, where one of which my dad was. So exactly the thought process was exactly the same. If you're an engineer, you had it. Medicine, not too bad. CA, okay, you have some hope. None of these, God bless you. So I was definitely in the God bless you category. And yeah, so I studied zoology, and the best part that came over there is that I ranked from the college. Um, However, the thought was being made. My professors wanted me to pursue masters, do, support them in research, etc., and all. Uh, I thought something else because, as all growing up teenagers, early 20s, then you want to be independent, right? And that concept of management was coming in. And my home university did offer the management courses. I only knew the term management. I did not knew that what personal management meant. Okay. Wrote the exam, got selected, joined the course. And thereafter the liking for the subject kind of started, moved on. Did a little stint into marketing to study marketing, but soon enough I realized that I would be I'd make a fool of myself if I continued to marketing. I'll be an awful marketer. So good sales prevailed, continued in HR. Once again, wrote some exams, joined VSNL. 2 years down the line, 2002, VSNL was divested. And that's how my entry into the Tata Group, and have been really, really blessed to work with many mentors across. Yeah. It will not be fair for me to name them. I'm sure some of them are there. Some of them have left us. But yeah, my journey really went. accordingly. Probably that passion. However, I need to make. I'll speak about a data point here. My entire childhood and in my early profession, I believed that I was an introvert. I was a very, very shy child. As a child, I did not speak up at work, right? So therefore, in meetings when you have all your colleagues just, I mean, talking and making their mark, and here is a silent one, maybe too scared to speak. From there, speaking to you is the person that you see today. And all credit to definitely all my mentors who have really groomed me, shaped me the way, gave me that space to grow, stayed with me during my own vulnerabilities. And yeah,
I think this actually shows wellness at work as a theme, helping us to be better in our daily life as well as in work. And I think if you look back, Sanjeev, like from for example, we all have heard about studies, especially case studies of Tata Group, and for example, how employees are taken care of. So again, if you can bring some insights, some examples of that from some of these experiences, it will be definitely very helpful for our audience.
okay, sure. So I will not restrict here to about a particular group in question, but whatever I have seen in my life, I've really seen um, uh, managers who can be the toughest ones, okay, who can be the easiest to go along with, and who can be the easiest to go along with, but with the toughness, the tough love as we call it. Yeah. Uh, and I have always seen that, to whenever, and with my own self, whenever we are able to let the individual uh, be what they are, the best results probably come out then. And here I'm trying to really touch upon a lot of parameters, right? Every day is not the same. Someday the person may not be feeling well for whatever reason. We don't know what the person is going through in their own mind, right? If on that particular day, when it is needed, the person has the back of someone at work, may not be necessarily the manager. Yes, the manager does have a very big role to play, but I think those are the times that people do contribute, and these are those occasions, memories, moments that stay with people, which probably push them to give their best, be their best, and do their best. Now, contrary to popular belief, we end up having the scores, the targets, and we think that high targets motivate people. It may actually motivate someone. It may not motivate the other, or it may motivate a majority. It may not motivate the people who do not fall in that group, right? So therefore, whenever I talk about this, I think it all depends upon the environment that an organization helps create. An environment is created by the cultures, the behaviors that come in from the top, what the managers, the leader actually exhibit, what what the what they preach, more than that they live, is something that actually makes a place. um I'm just struggling for a better word. Excellent. Mm, Excellence is not equal to profit, right? Excellence is not always equal to business results, but something very deep, where people will come even on a bad day, even in the bad phase of the organization, that people are willing to give more than themselves. I think that is where uh, these the true benefit of uh, a wellness focused workplace actually comes in. I'm not going into any very, very specific examples, because that probably may I may be crossing certain boundaries if I actually, go on to those. But yes, wherever I have worked, I have seen both the places. I've seen extremes, and has seen the middle part work beautifully.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay, maybe what I wanted to know from you is that how do you lead purpose? How do you bring in the purpose in the OD journey that you have had, right? How do you really align the people strategy with purpose, and particularly when organizations are going through the phases, for example, banking, or in today's world, whatever is happening across the world there's a lot of ambiguity. There's a lot of um, kalbuka, kalbani stages that organizations are navigating. How do you suggest that organizations align their people strategy with the purpose?
Thank you for asking that question. I want to connect again to starting with my professor, who helped me to find my purpose. That is one. The faculty member at St. Thomas College at that time, in St. Thomas College, Trichure at that time, that is. And, where I still get in touch with him. So that is one. Similarly, when I started working with the bank, and there are, especially as you mentioned, you touched upon the cultural elements. How culture is what we do in our workplace. And in the past, I'm in the front line, branch operations, compliance, then trade finance, then treasury functions, etc. Now at that time, I was not connected with, okay, how it is related to the purpose. Okay, you get the target, as you mentioned, that you go run behind to achieve that. But once I came to the Middle East, because my interactions with HR or senior management was limited during the early days of my career. So the bank was growing. Yes, we occasionally, once in a year or twice in a year, we get an opportunity to attend some training which may be related to the core function. But when I came to the Middle East, what I observed is my interactions with the being an institution related to learning, especially for the financial services, my interaction with HR and OD increased. And that is where I started to see, okay, there is a learning function which is helping in change. And in that process, what actually happens is, there is a saying which I always keep closer to my heart. It is called learning bring awareness, and awareness breeds potential. Now, quite often, that is the beautiful function of learning, which and again, I like to borrow the concept of from Peter Senge, which I came across to learn about later on only when I discovered ISAPS and the OD program in ISAPS. So what I want to highlight is, learning organization where people are constantly provided information about, on bringing their awareness, what is their purpose. Okay, I'm doing in a branch, or I'm doing in a head office, I'm a CEO of an organization. How I am connecting to the purpose of my organization, and how am I connecting that purpose along with the values to what I do in my line of work, in my line of responsibility. Now, there are some organization which does it really well. And one example I just want to share here is, this is something which I heard Indra Nui sharing. Maybe there may be slight difference the way in which I am presenting. So she was sharing in a podcast, in that she was sharing that she goes and visit the families of her direct line reportees, and go and meet the parents, and give a letter to the parents saying that thank you for bringing up this individual, or whether it is she or he or whoever it is, and thank them, for grooming them or developing them as so that they are bringing value to the work which they are involved in. And so that is an example of connecting with the purpose, and it inspires the team around her. So here a CEO of a global organization is taking time to meet the people, And there are another example, which again I like to reflect on my own department head in the bank in which I worked. So he this is something which he always insists on. Phoebe, as a department head, my responsibility is to develop you, the team, to grow bigger. And this is something which also I like to connect with wellness at work. And for example, I had an instance in which I had to leave a bit early. Early means I came 8 o'clock to the work, and at 9:30 I'm saying I have to leave now. So he said, this is something which I had to go to my son's school at that time. So this is what he said: Phoebe, keep your mobile in your handy. If you are late, don't come back. I don't want to know where you are going. If there is anything urgent to be done, give it to me. I will do that. If there is something which you need help, please call me. We are here to support you. And otherwise, come tomorrow. And that was a building of trust and connecting it with the work. And this is one way of, as a team member, I get aligned with what my department head wants, as well as the organization which is taking. I feel the organization at that point, because that department head is understanding what my needs are and guiding me in that process. And from a wellness perspective, and I'm trying to connect it with purpose, because I felt very happy because no one has shared that to me before in this way. And one is the trust building process. The trust with me and that leader has gone extremely well. And he was actually encouraging the heart in one way. And, the value which I will be bringing is not based on the salary paid to me, but the connection building. And that is what I love the work of Peter Block, who has written a book called Flawless Consulting. And he said, connection before content. And it says that no meaningful work can happen without relationship between people. So if we can connect our organizational purpose with individual purpose maybe take care of the family. Individual purpose, organizational purpose maybe take care of society with whatever services we render. And I think that is what that building bridge lead to how work can translate to the purpose. So I hope I tried to connect it with your question, Sanjeev.
Oh, very true. Very true.
Yeah.
And often I see that, we, or rather as managers probably, we tend to go back to the theories that have been obsolete now, the theory X's of the world. And we think that the more the whip, more would be the result, and we fail drastically. Particularly in today's day and time, when we are having a multi-generational workforce all across the world. Yeah, interesting. I am actually also trying to absorb what you said. Some wonderful nuggets of wisdom. Thank you for that, Fiby.
No, Sanjeev. So as you shared that it is all our like I want to bring this formula from Kurt Lewin. Behavior is a function of person and environment. Like I worked in an environment where a leader is modeling the way. So that makes me to model the way, and that makes other members in the organization to model the way. And this is something which I recollect, and again, it is also related to the wellness at work. So he often highlights, his name is, I like to also give credit and recognize him at this point. His name is Rajan. He's from India only. So this is something which he always took care of the team. Transparency, value-based interactions. And sometimes, for example, this is an example of, people are sometimes working late, for example. Now, if it is once in a while, that is okay. There is an emergency need. Now, if it is frequently that, the next question is, as a departmental head, what am I doing? Am I looking into his wellness with respect to giving time boundaries of work? If I'm not looking into that, that is my responsibility as a leader to look into that. Okay, I need additional hands in my workplace. I may have to check in my org design, my departmental design. Is it aligned? Second is, if it is still not, then it can be a capability issue, because people may be new to the function, and that is where capability building process need to be looked into. And sometimes it is, for example, okay, someone want to show that I'm working late. then then it is again a leadership issue. Okay, why am I tolerating in that? So that is the space where I have to coach, I have to mentor, to make sure. So this is something very interesting from a workplace perspective, like from a leadership position, how are we taking care? And that lead to the question. So for example, Sanjeev, how is that capability building process you see from a CHRO space, in your current organization, as well as from your past experiences?
See, once again, the way the world is changing today, or and you know, the way the organizations are actually going through ruffled waters, it is really difficult to have a one size fits all or have a framework to that. So, and same for people capabilities, because if sitting on my chair, I try to assess the capability, what is happening on the ground. More importantly, whose capability am I trying to build? A person who is probably in a different generation that I am, right? Therefore, the motivation for the person to enhance their capabilities that I want them to most, and maybe their learning styles can be very different. Their way of doing things can be very different than what I would probably prescribe or chart for them. So therefore, I do think that as organizations, we need to be really mindful of these couple of things. One, that we need to really assess the capability, what we want, and more importantly, why do we want it? At one point in time, I mean, I'm sure you and I had to sit down, take actually Excel courses, right? We had to learn a PowerPoint or learn simple typing in Word, and more importantly, formatting in Word, right? Today, the kids are born with it. Yeah. Today, they do something that probably we need to learn again, right? Things, very simple things like a Canva. Is Canva better than PowerPoint? I have this conversation with my team every day. I said, no, PowerPoint shall exist. And they say, now you're getting old. so, so the point that I'm trying to make is that there is no straight answer. Organizations need to assess the capabilities based on, once again, their aspirations. You spoke about values, you spoke about purpose. Both of them are led by the vision of the organization, probably. Yeah, purpose, vision can be interchangeable at times. But why do we exist? What do we want to do? Right? And if as organizations we are able to describe what do we want to do or where do we want to be, that just a next question, if we ask how shall we be there, I think that will give us the pointer to those steps or those things that we need to be as an organization, to be where we go, to be where we want to be. Now getting in the people factor into it, alignment of that vision, that purpose with the individual's aspiration. I as a person may not be really want to add value to the world, right? I may be happy with taking care of my little own family. I mean, I'm just trying to exaggerate probably, but also to make a point here. How do we align there? So absolute alignment within the teams to that particular vision and purpose. The but doing it, letting them do it in their way. If somebody needs a classroom kind of a training, please, so be it. If somebody really needs to take on projects, yeah, really handle it and fail and learn, so be it. So capability building, therefore, is a very, very strategic exercise, which sometimes we in organizations get into very tactical. Send this person for this training and they will come back. Does not work. Um, and this is actually bringing me to to the other question, Vibi. Um, you have built learning cultures across global organizations. Yeah. What do you think that the learning culture or the learning is is not just another check in the box?
That's a very deep question. I'm taking a breath now before answering that. Uh, Quite often in organization, uh, sometimes learning is considered as a tick marks exercise. I have to do it because of compliance requirement. If it is a regulated business, very much strictly regulated, or in some cases, for example, like, okay, there is a capability requirement I need to. But if we, you mentioned about the VUCA world, the changing cultures, the money. I forgot the full name of
And
money. The brittle, something like that. Sorry for that. The bunny world, and in it all deals with change actually. Now, when we look learning as a function, we can definitely um, bring change if learning interventions are thoughtfully done. For example, we have, yes, technical capability. Like, for example, sometimes these days organizations are asking, we need to make sure that we have um, our team understand what AI and how AI is shaping the world of work. Then I ask, what, for example, if it is a financial institution, then we ask, have you opened the AI access to your employees? Then they say no. So the IT restrictions are there. So what are we going to do with that? Now the technology team may be requiring some addition to know about that. Second is, for example, like as you mentioned, learning culture is also about how can we manage and innovate within the organization continuously. It is also linked to the leadership, whether as a leadership function, are we willing to listen, are we willing to challenge the processes which we have, are we enabling others to act in that process as an organization. Now, and that is where again, as I mentioned, are we enabling our leaders to think in that way? And if we can bring that mindset of, okay, my next level leaders are allowing that, and we one aspect we always inform, in my experience, to the leaders are, you know our role as leaders is to develop more leaders in the workplace. And thanks to my own department head for bringing that. And he also always highlight that was the way in which the CEO is trying to bring that culture in that organization. So there was an example, like, we as training function have to suggest a couple of interesting books for the senior management, one exercise. And each of the every month when the senior team sit with the CEO, one book, same one book is shared within the team. And that was actually to bring in new ideas and fresh perspective among the N-1 and -2 within the organizational hierarchy. And for example, in the next meeting, one question is, what are some of the key thoughts which you have captured, to share it between. And here is an organization trying to bring in that new learning, new mindset. And these days, I like to borrow the question from Elon Musk. He said, what did you do last week? So this time we are asking, like, for example, I ask people, what did you do with AI last week? What is one platform which you have used? So what I'm trying to convey is, learning culture is creating that conversation. Are we having that psychologically safe space to ask questions mutually, test on the assumptions mutually, bring in that participatory process. Okay, this is working well. What is not working well? What can we do in that process? What kind of skill sets may enable us to overcome that barrier? For example, what are positive? We don't have to work or look into that. But what are our pain areas? What can we do on that pain areas? Is it a learning issue? And when we say a learning issue, is it a behavioral learning issue or is it a technical learning issue? Then another question sometimes is it our behavior, especially related to leadership practices? Is it aligned with, for example, the culture which we want to create? Because these conversations, especially again, when we have those conversations, we understand, okay, what the real cause is. We all come across the 5 whys, why, and sometimes also asking the 3W question, like that is what, so what, now what, and also adding another one, then what? Where are we heading as an organization? So these question framing help us to create and understand the need. And once we understand these learning needs, we can create solutions accordingly. So to your question, that is probably one way in which we try to shape that learning culture in organization. Sometimes many organization doesn't have that opportunity. Maybe and that is where I try to bring this phrasing. Sometimes the system is not aware. System in the sense the people are not aware. So how can I bring that awareness? And that is where learning brings awareness, and awareness breeds our potential in organization. So that creates the culture. So Sanjeev, so this lead to another question to you. So like, for example, how in your experiences, how do you ensure that being a CHRO, you will be overseeing many of the change functions? How are you able to influence, especially support function to a business critical partner in workplace? And because that is also linked to the overall objectives or vision of organization.
See, so first and foremost, I really do not believe, very honestly, that functions like HR, or for that matter, finance, etc., we are support functions, because the term itself puts us at a very different pedestal than probably where we should have been or where we should be, right? Now, the other paradigm that I would want to bring in over here, that organizations are non-existent without people, right? So it is about, it is about bringing in that connect of the business with the people. So basically, and I go back and I borrow this so many times from Dave Ulrich, who, the father of the father of modern HR, as he is called, and rightfully so. If we ask ourselves that why does the HR function first and foremost exist? Why does the need for it function in the organization? And incidentally, I ask this question when I have an opportunity to meet people who want to study HR, and I've come to your question, but then it's just popping in my head, and I'm sure some of some of our listeners may be benefited with what I say, maybe confused as well, but so be it. So when I ask people that why HR, why do you want to study HR, or why do you want to get into HR, for some freshers who have other options in life, I get to hear, I love people, I want to be with people, yeah, I want to organize events. And my answer to each one of them, okay, you love people, be a philanthropist. You want to do something for people, join a charity. You know, you want event management. There are plenty of other firms. You don't need to be in HR. So the point realization is that the people function exists to ensure that the organization is successful with its people practices. If I If this is understood, and I borrow this from Devalrik, may not be the same way as he says, but that's how I understand it. That makes the function critical. Now, therefore, how do we then participate in business? First and foremost, I think that we need to understand the business aspects a little better than the business managers themselves. Why? Because we are the people, we have studied the people side, the human side of it. Yeah. Um, we are someone who are at times known to be as mind readers. Yeah. We are someone who are expected to be the to be able to feel the pulse of the organization. Yeah. And those capabilities, I'm sure most of the HR professionals will have. If Therefore, for us, we need to understand business for two things. One, we must know what the organization is, what is it doing, what does it want to be, what does it need to be. Whatever we are going through today as an organization, business wise, is it in track, not in track, will be in track, will not be in track, or ahead of track. Yeah. And we also need to understand, if this is it, what is it that my people are thinking, doing, not doing, how are our managers treating people. So therefore, I believe that we can be called as business facilitators. We are surely not a support. We are really not so-called utilities to be needed, to be called for when needed. But we are there. By we, I mean the HR functions, and of course the other functions also. Call it IT, call it finance. We are there with the organization. We are with the organization to ensure that what the organization wants to do happens the way it wants to do. And I think if we are able to realize this ourselves, accept this ourselves, I'm sure a very different paradigm is going to happen at our respective workplaces, and I am sure our deliveries to the workplace is also going to change. Now, how does it impact wellness at work? For that matter, I am sure, if I am confident, if I am happy, if this boosts my own aspiration, I am good at work. Have I answered you?
Mm. Yeah, you framed it really well, and that actually one maybe to the key point. Emotions are data, and how
You're right.
these emotions are managed in the workplace, and workforce. How that translate and impact our strategy, and that is what the culture which we build, and you framed it really well. And yeah, so I think one thing which from an applied behavioral angle, when we see that, is sometimes when we use the support function, people think, okay, support, but that is the core support for any organization, which is often not seen. And I also like to this is something which I learned during the ISAP process, the meaning making process. The literal word meaning making process. Sometimes when we see support, because support means it is the trunk on which the organization, that is the group of people, are standing. And sometimes some organization, for example, if um, especially senior leaders are not familiar about the role of the people function, they may not see the value. But if and we have seen many of the organization, especially as we shared the example of Indra Nui, how much managing the emotions is what she's actually trying to do. And there are, for example, I heard about some of the practices, again, within Tata Group, Ratan Tata, how he has shaped the organization, valuing the emotions of people, and how that, again, many organizations across the globe see the value in that and build a culture. Yeah, that is fascinating. So the support means the core support, the core pillar on which it is being built. I know we are running out of time. It has been interesting conversations going on.
Phoebe, so So as you said, and I mean, I could probably feel the emotions that were coming out even from you, and as as we are conversing, we're also reflecting back to our own journeys or situations that we ourselves have gone through. Uh, and the word that is coming up repeatedly in our conversation is also about experience, the employee experience, right? So, and you work a lot with I mean, employee experience, having navigated your own, and I know that I mean, I said it's a very powerful program to be able to make us aware about, I mean, ourselves. Uh, how do you how do you think that we need to really create the uh, I mean, to actually embed I mean, embed well-being in the organizational, call them workflows, call them processes, not only living I mean, not only having the term defined or appear in the policies.
Yeah. One aspect which I just want to highlight is employee. As you know, the word company itself is group of people, and we work well if we have our group of people working together are well enough with respect to a sound mind, with respect to a sound health, with respect to the vibrant energy they bring in their line of work to make it effective. And imagine quite often some organizations see it only as tick mark, but each word can have an impact. Sometimes, for example, in my own experience in the past, when some emails hit, it may have impact on us. How are we seeing and receiving? Sometimes it can be like, for example, someone who is a bit uh, arrogant in a workplace, how it impacts the team around them. And sometimes it is they haven't experienced something of that in the past. What, for example, sometimes as there is a saying, like, when you have a nail and you have a hammer, you could try to use hammer as as a situation to all aspects, but that may not that is not ideal. And if we can bring that awareness to the people, that if we do it differently, if we do with compassion, if we do with appropriate coaching, and see how it what we call elevate the workplace environment. And these simple acts can have, for example, reduced stress level for people. When stress level is reduced, you can have savings on your insurance premium because people are going less to hospitals, and you will be saving on many other aspects. Retention can be, for example, reduced. Retention or attrition. Sorry, the word is attrition can be reduced. Employee retention can be improved. So these are aspects which you may have to see some, but it all comes from the awareness. Am I aware of these good practices? If not, what needs to be doing from a learning perspective is to create that awareness in the system for change.
Awesome. I will just add on here for 10 seconds that one wonderful toolkit which I have seen here is to be able to define the behaviors of our values and measure them. How do we measure? How do we measure the value behaviors? Link it to the competencies, and individual competencies get measured. Once that awareness as a process can be built in, I am sure we are actually ensuring that we are living our values every day. Which means that say, for example, if our value is collaboration, we ensure collaboration. If our value is dignity, we are upholding dignity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
think we have to go to the rapid fire questions, Sanjeev, and
y-
I will
yes,
ask you. Let me start.
yes, alias,
Yeah, people inside that shaped your HR philosophy.
everyone is different. every human being is different, and letting them the way they are is probably the best way to be able to, align, integrate, and utilize people's capabilities.
Mm. Mm. Thank
Maybe
you. Thank you.
if I have to ask you one leadership mantra that keeps you grounded.
Yeah, I think uh, which makes me grounded is, the one of the philosophy which I learned from Peter Block, connection before content. Before anything which you are, how to build connection, how to build relationship, and that 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 makes me grounded because we understand where the other person is, how and what are the challenges and the environment which that person is facing. So that makes me grounded because it builds empathy, I think, to some extent.
The other thing, maybe after having worked in so many places and really led so many changes, what must your dream workplace always have?
Thank you. It was wonderful having this conversation, Sanjeeb, with you. And thank you for Wellness at Work for this opportunity.
Then, Bank, I mean, the pleasure is all mine.